So this is my humble.
I'm sorry.
Would you mind just backtracking just
Sure.
a bit? I needed clarification on, you were discussing the department heads and their contribution to
Yep.
tenure.
Right now, they teach 4 periods out of 6.
Right, but I was wondering about, were you speaking to the department heads themselves are not contributing to the tenure process, or is it the...
No, their evaluations by
evaluations
contract don't contribute.
Don't do that, okay.
Yeah.
Principals
It's the principal, but you have the discussions with those department heads, and you read what they say. I mean, it provides information for you as the administrator, but it would be more constructive and more forceful if that evaluation had weight.
And how does that structure change?
You would have to have one. You would be agreed to, in this evaluation instrument. It would come with, the union is going to have to, hopefully buy into what we're trying to do to improve the instruction. If not, then, that's another question. I mean, hopefully we'll be able to get it out of committee where knowing most teachers, I don't think they disagree with that. If the process is fair by bringing the department heads in and saying we want you to have weight, we want them to have weight and it's part of the overall model. We're going to have to show a model that works. We're going to have to do our research. We're going to have to talk about it and we'll have to work through it and go from there.
And what, as Mr. Burek said, I'm on the school committee, and I listen to all these debates. But as an educator, I find it insulting to think that you would tell me, Sally, will you work a little harder with this student I put before you by giving you more money? That's just incredible to me, because I'll work as hard as I can and do everything I have been brought to that room and educated to bring that child to wherever he needs to go. And so on a basic foundation level, that might be. Now my husband just had serious heart surgery. And what if I said to the surgeon on the way in, hey doc, if I give you a little extra money, will you work harder to save his life? He'd look at me like, what, are you nuts? My integrity to do no harm, and you're asking me that question? Well, I feel that way as an educator. And the most important thing, as Mr. Burek said, is to shepherd the people out, counsel people out that don't belong there, that are hurting our kids, and then to bring all the rest of the amazing teachers. Now, most of these studies will say 70%. You see, and as it should be, because if you're the effort, the way you're supposed to be, you'll get the rewards. But that basic principle that really bothers me is to say that, Sally, I'm going to give you $2,000 extra in May if you work hard in this class and there's no pay. So, but I will listen to all this, and I will, be objective with it, and try to listen to everything.
Let me ask you a question. How easy it is to remove a teacher who has tenure and who is underperforming, except if it commits a crime?
Oh,
It's very difficult in most cases, and the reason why, there are statutes in place, but where districts fall down, 99% of the time is in the documentation piece. I'm not going to, no one in the right mind around would say it's easy to terminate a tenured teacher. It's not. But where it falls down is in your documentation. You can't just say, I don't like Mrs. Smith because she stinks.
That has to be.
You have to have it. You have to have it documented. And that's also in defense of the teacher, because if you get an administrator who has an issue with you and there's no concrete support to say that you're a bad teacher, then that person needs something to defend them as well. Did the unions go over the top? Sometimes. But bottom line is you have to document yourself. And that would put us in a better position, as Mr. Black said, is to shepherd those that aren't doing it out. We would have the documentation. Would it be easy? No. We're dealing with some really difficult issues here. But if the goal is to improve teacher quality, it's with the instrument that you have and how you administer that instrument will be in my opinion, how you're going to get there.
But during those years when this person is underperforming and you try to get them out, you will give this teacher the same raise as the top performer in your school. Like, for example, Mrs. Parker, who takes kids all over the place and does all kinds of things beyond Call of Duty. And how demoralizing is this?
If you have people on the ground, this is like reading. If you catch a child between grades K and 1, and you have them at grade level, they're going to have success. If you don't catch them early, they're not going to be successful in many cases. The data shows that. In teaching, if you have the people on the ground, you catch those teachers in the first 2 or 3 years of their probationary period, that's when you make them, it will show up. In 99% of the cases, if you're not very good at the beginning, you're not very good after 10 years, you're not very good after 20. Because you never were very good. Are there examples of very good teachers having issues where they stumble and have issues? Certainly. But that's where we have to step in, if possible and appropriate, to provide the support to get them back on track. But if they're not, then you have your instrument, you have your documentation to move. I mean, that's the system we have. Until someone waves a wand and changes that, I think this is the best approach, the most effective approach you can take.
I'm not arguing that that's an important piece, but what the other piece is, at the moment when this teacher did not really perform to par, no salary increase. And next year, no salary increase. No salary.
But that could be the second part of the discussion, as I was saying before.
Correct.
Once you get it built, then the committee can come back and revisit it.
And I'm fine with it.
Revisit it. I'm not saying that you discount it altogether.
Good.
I'm
That's
not recommending that.
I
I'm
agree.
just saying, initially,
Yeah.
and quite frankly, what people have said, there was no discussion of merit pay voted on at the strategic plan. It's not in there. Doesn't mean you as the governing body can't, again, augment it later on, because that's your body when you go to vote for it. Now, you may vote, when we bring it before you, you may vote for the evaluation process separate, say, yes, we want to go with this, and then address the issue of the salary issue. Because you're right, if some people aren't performing, that's a separate question. But the only way you're going to know that is by having the instrument.
There's no question about this. We cannot talk first about merit pay without having the piece on evaluation. I just want to make sure that this evaluation piece is done in such a way that it could be useful, that we don't have to go in and redo this work if we think about merit pay, which is probably coming down the pipeline as we hear.
The committee is going to develop what we think is the best plan, evaluation plan. We bring it to the committee in draft form. That's where you folks sit there and go, okay, we agree with this, we agree with this, we agree with, well, we want you to focus, can you go back and focus more on these areas? That'll be the process, and it'll be the committee that makes that determination in the end, what it looks like. Both the evaluation process and where you're going to go the next step. It won't be the subcommittee. Subcommittee is charged with developing the instrument based on what the oversight committee for the strategic plan recommended.
And the one last piece I'd like to say is we talk about President Obama, look at it, Secretary Duncan. It's Title II of No Child Left Behind includes this. It includes recruit and retain, and also it mentions merit pay. So it's already in the law. So we've got to look at it and look at it how and see where it can fit into our system is best for our students and our teachers and our district.
And I don't think this would be ready, obviously, for May, but there could be what we're recommending, a cost increase. It's not bonuses, but there could be an increase in our operating line in order to get to what the goal is, which is an improved level of achievement for all our kids.
In discussion of the evaluation process, has there been any consideration of evaluations by students of the teachers and or parents?
Currently, right now, there's for grades, students in grades 3 through 12, teachers are required to ask the students without naming names to write down what they thought of the class. And currently, the way it's structured is the only people who see those comments are the classroom teacher.